So our topic is about church as an agent of socialization. So what is religious socialization? So based on our research, it is a gender teachings, religious doctrines, and interpretation often create a patriarchal hierarchy, positioning men as leaders and women as followers. Also, it is a symbolic rituals or rites of passage like weddings, reinforce traditional roles through symbolic acts such as the father giving away the bride, which can imply a transfer of ownership. So example dito is yung sa father. Father giving away, which means a father should provide for his family. And the bride, symbolizing a transfer of authority from one man to another. So this ritual reinforces the notion of women as a property or dependents, and the men as protectors and providers.
When we talk about the influence of religion on society, one of the most significant areas we see it is in the shaping of gender roles. The church in particular doesn't serve as a spiritual guide. It also provides frameworks for how men and women are expected to live, behave, and relate to each other. This influence is deeply embedded in teaching, leadership, tradition, and even family life. Through prescriptive teaching, leadership structures, rituals, dress codes, and family ideals, the church has historically reinforced specific roles for men and women. These roles are not only spiritual but also social, shaping everything from personal identity and family dynamics. By looking at this different aspect, we can better understand how church continues to shape and sometimes challenge our views on gender.
Good day everyone, my name is Jerick Rios and I will be talking about prescriptive teaching and leadership structures in churches. First, prescriptive teaching. Many churches outline gender-specific roles based on their interpretation of religious texts. For example, in Christianity, certain passages in the Bible are often used to encourage women to embody modesty, obedience, and nurturing qualities, while men are seen as protectors and providers. A real-life example of this can be found in conservative Christian groups, where women are often encouraged to focus on homemaking and child-rearing, while men are expected to take leadership in both family and community life. Similarly, in Islam, while interpretations vary widely, some communities place emphasis on women upholding modesty through the hijab and being caretakers, while men are viewed as financial providers. Second, leadership structures. In many denomination, positions of authority such as priests, pastors, or elders are almost always male. For instance, in the Roman Catholic Church, only men can be ordained as priests, which reinforces male spiritual headship. In Orthodox Judaism, the role of rabbi has traditionally been male, although some reform movement now ordain women. Even in some Protestant denominations, leadership has long been male-dominated, though modern shifts are beginning to include women pastors in certain churches. These examples show how leadership structures in religion often reinforce the idea that men are the ones with ultimate authority.
So one of the example of how the church shapes gender roles is yung rituals and rites of passage. So it is gendered expectations are often reinforced during religious milestones such as confirmation, marriage, or ordination, where roles are clearly delineated. So by means of delineated is portraying or kung paano ba pinuportray ng lalaki ang kanyang role bilang isang lalaki at kung paano pinuportray ng babae ang kanyang role bilang isang babae. So, meron tayong tatlong example ng rituals and rites of passage. Number 1 is yung marriage ceremonies, ordination and leadership rites, and confirmation and baptism. So, sa marriage ceremonies, it is one of the most significant religious rites of passage, and it is a prime example of how gender roles are codified. So, in many Christian tradition, the ceremony frames the husband as the head of the household. It is a role that often comes with expectation of leadership and authority. So, while the wife naman is often cast as a role of helper, so it is emphasizing um, the role of a woman as a domestic and supportive function. So number two is yung ordination and leadership rights. So this is perhaps the most direct way the church shapes gender roles, as they determine who can hold position of spiritually authority. So many major denominations, including the Roman Catholic Church and Orthodox Judaism, have ordination rights that are exclusively for men. So this practice is often justified by theological arguments such as the belief that only men can act in the person of Christ or that Jesus chose only male apostles. So dito nga po, example dito is yung sa Bible na male lang yung pwede maging apostles ni Jesus Christ, or Jesus choose only men as his apostles. So yung last is yung confirmation and baptism. So these rituals, which mark entry into the faith community, can also subtly reinforce gendered expectations while not as explicit as marriage or ordination. The roles assigned during these ceremonies or the subsequent expectation can vary. Example is yung role modeling. Boys are often encouraged to see themselves as future leaders in the church, or perhaps as altar servers or future pastors, while the girl, on the other hand, are often channeled towards roles that are seen as more nurturing or service-oriented. Example nito is yung pagsiserve sa church nursery or yung pagsali sa mga women's guild.
Good day, everyone. My name is Karen G. Panganiban, and I will talk about the church as an agent of socialization. Specifically, we will look at how it influences dress codes, behavior norms, and family and marriage ideas. I will also give examples across different religions. The church in all religions is more than a spiritual guide. It teaches us values and morals that shape how we act and who we become. For example, churches teach respect for elders, the importance of prayer, and the value of community service. These lessons influence not only individuals but also families and communities as a whole. Many churches promote modesty in clothing. For example, in Catholic and Protestant churches, people are asked not to wear revealing clothes during services. In Islam, women wear the hijab as a sign of modesty, while men are encouraged to dress simply for Friday prayers. In terms of behavior, most religions expect respectful conduct in sacred places, like silence inside the temples, removing shoes in Hindu or Buddhist temples, or bowing in prayer. These rules teach discipline, humility, and respect. Across religions, family is seen as the foundation of the society. For example, in Christianity, marriage is a sacrament and divorce is discouraged. In Islam, marriage is a contract blessed by God, and the family is central to social life. Hinduism views marriage as a sacred duty or dharma, often linked with arranged marriages. Traditional roles are also emphasized. Husbands are often seen as providers and wives as nurturers. For instance, many Christian teachings describe the husband as the head of the family, while the wife is the light of the home. Those roles may vary today, but they remain a strong influence. Here are some clear examples. In Christianity, people wear modest clothes during Mass, and weddings are celebrated as sacred sacraments. In Islam, women wear the hijab and men wear simple clothing during worship, and marriage is seen as a lifelong commitment. In Hinduism, both men and women wear the traditional attire when entering temples, and arranged marriages are still practiced in many communities. In Buddhism, people are dressed simply when visiting temples, and teaching emphasize compassion and harmony within the family. In conclusion, the church, whether Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, or others, plays a stronger role in shaping cultures and values. It influences how people dress, how they behave, and how families and marriages are understood. These norms are passed down through generation, showing the lasting impact of religion on society.
Next naman po is yung sa cultural and dominational variations. Since iba't iba po tayo ng religion, our degree and nature of gender socialization also varies. So, dito po sa table, makikita natin yung religion or yung denomination and yung emphasis po nila sa gender roles. So, firstly, yung Catholicism po. This is where priesthood were confined to men while women confined to being nuns. And in-emphasize din po nito si Mary as a model of feminine virtue. So, since the Virgin Mary po is known as the Immaculate Conception, it is personified with a pure heart, kind and loving po. So these conceptions greatly shape the young minds of what we need to do po as a women in reference to the character of Mary. So also po in Catholicism, the church also molded gender biases since priesthood were confined to men while yung women is confined to being nuns. Next naman po is yung evangelical Christianity often promotes male headship in family and church while yung women encouraged to be submissive po. So, in some conservative denominations po, in-uphold po nila yung traditional na gender roles, which yun nga po yung men as church leaders, and yung women naman po is focus sila sa family and supportive ministries po. So, ito rin po is one of the churches na they are difficult to accept other genders po in diverse yung SOG po natin or yung sa LGBTQ since they strongly believe po in the Bible which says that there are only two creations or gender po which is man and woman. Ito po si Adam and Eve. Next naman po is yung sa Islam. So, gender roles are clearly defined in religious texts, modesty and separation emphasized. So, traditionally po, may mga complementary roles po yung sa Islam. So, yung sa men po, they are the protectors and providers po, while women as the nurturers and homemakers. And may mga religious leadership din po sila, which is typically male, but women have authority in family, education, and community life. In practice naman po, gender roles vary by cultures po sa Islam na religion. So some Muslim majority societies enforce strict separation of roles while others allow greater equality with women working, leading, and pursuing education. Next naman po is yung sa Judaism. The Orthodox traditions maintain strict gender roles and the reform movements are more egalitarian, which means po na they believe or they based on the principle that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities po. So Orthodox Judaism po, they have strong gender distinctions. Some men, they lead prayers, study Torah publicly, and perform priestly functions po. While as a women, they focus on home, family, and private religious obligations. Sa conservative Judaism naman po, they are more balanced with growing acceptance of women rabbis and leaders while retaining some traditional practices. And sa mga reform and progressive Judaism naman po, they emphasized equality with women and men sharing leadership, clergy roles, and responsibilities. Next po is yung sa Hinduism. So, the gender roles tied to dharma or yung duty po. And women often seen as caretakers or nurturers. Traditionally po, associates yung Hinduism po, it associates men with priestly duties, leadership, and protection, while yung women po are linked to nurturing, family, and devotion po. So dito po, women are highly revered symbolically based po sa kanilang mga goddess, yet in practice po, many communities historically limited women's roles po. Sa modern Hindu movements po, they often promote gender equality na rin po, with women increasingly participating as priests, gurus, and scholars po. And lastly is yung Buddhism po. It is The early Buddhism po allowed women to become nuns but often placed them in lower status than monks po. And in Theravada traditions po, monks are dominant while nuns often have limited roles po. Meron din po silang tinatawag na Mahayana and Vajrayana traditions which values the feminine principle po and grant higher spiritual recognition to women. In some modern schools po, women are increasingly ordained and respected as teachers. So in conclusion po, we can observe that most religions historically emphasize complementary or distinct roles for men and women, often prioritizing men in leadership and women in family-centered roles. However, modern movements within nearly all faiths increasingly push toward gender equality and in religious, social, and community life. And that is all po about our topic, church as an agent of socialization. Thank you.